Exposed. After 15 heartbreaking years, the Queen discovers incredible betrayal and fights back. Marybeth Wilson stood at the edge of the family farm, the autumn breeze whispering around her like a forgotten memory. Sunlight filtered through vibrant leaves, casting a golden hue on the fields that her late husband had tended tirelessly. The heart of Maple Grove pulsed with life. Children laughed, leaves crunched underfoot, and the town buzzed with anticipation for the upcoming harvest festival. This was their tradition, a celebration symbolizing unity and resilience. But for Marybeth, it was a reminder of what hung in the balance, everything she held dear. Every morning, as the sun rose, she poured her heart into the land, just as she had given her everything to Jack. Raising their two teenagers, Danny and Lizzie, had filled her with purpose. Yet the weight of keeping the farm afloat pressed down like an anchor. Bills piled up, whispered doubts about the future loomed large, and the breath of winter harshly approached. In her effort to quiet the storms in her heart, Marybeth dedicated herself to the community. Volunteering at the local school and organizing charity events for veterans gave her strength. But that strength was shattered when she discovered Bridget, her closest friend, had been secretly undermining her at every turn. The betrayal burned in her chest. How could someone who knew her struggles, who had shared countless cups of coffee and laughter, betray her trust? How could you? Marybeth's voice trembled like a leaf in a gale as she confronted Bridget in the dim light of the town hall. The accusations hung heavy in the air, wrapping around her like a shroud. Tears threatened, and the intensity of the moment was palpable. Marybeth's heart raced as she faced Bridget, who stood frozen, eyes wide, the weight of the truth crashing between them. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The silence that followed felt like an eternity. Marybeth's heart thudded in her ears as she braced for the fallout. Her community relied on her, and the idea of losing their support felt insurmountable. But she couldn't sink quietly. It was time to bring the truth to light, to challenge the deep-seated biases that crumbled at the edges of Maple Grove. As whispers spiraled through town, her resolve solidified. She organized a town hall meeting, fueled by an indignant fire. The day arrived, crisp and bright. People filled the seats, faces reflecting both curiosity and concern. Marybeth stood before them, her voice steady but filled with urgency. Each word pierced the air, igniting shared struggles hidden behind polite smiles. At that moment, she felt the power of solidarity. For every nod or supportive murmur in the crowd, hope flickered. But standing on that stage, she also knew her moment with Bridget was yet to come. The true test of her spirit, friendship, and community awaited. Would she emerge from this storm not just to reclaim her farm, but to reshape how her world viewed worth? The air crackled with anticipation as Marybeth steadied herself for the confrontation. What truth would they unearth together? As the echoes of her plea filled the room, the stakes climbed higher. Their futures teetered on the brink of revelation. Would she fight for justice or risk losing everything she held dear? The story was just beginning. Marybeth gathered her breath, the air heavy with emotion as she prepared for the moment she'd waited for. The people of Maple Grove had come to listen, and every gaze seemed to fix on her with a mix of curiosity and expectation. "Bridget," she called, her voice cutting through the crowd like a knife. The silence transformed into a palpable tension. A light flickered in Marybeth's chest, a complicated blend of anger and hurt. "Please come forward." Bridget hesitated, her eyes darting between Marybeth and the assembled townsfolk. The once bubbling camaraderie felt surface deep, a thin layer likely to shatter under scrutiny. With a slight nod, she stepped from the back of the hall, sheepish yet defiant, like a child caught with a hand in the cookie jar. Marybeth's heart raced. "You've told them lies," she accused, pointing her trembling finger at Bridget. "Lies to undermine our community, to steal from me while I've worked my fingers to the bone." The words tumbled out, raw and vulnerable. Bridget stood there, mouth opening slightly as if to respond, but no words found their way out. The murmurs in the room grew louder, a tide of whispers washing over the once quiet hall. Marybeth felt the energy shift. It was no longer just about her. This was about every person betraying their neighbor, about truth and trust in Maple Grove. "Perhaps you think of this as just business, but to me, this farm is my heart. It's my children's future," she continued, her fortitude building with every word. "I've built something from the ground up, just like many of you have. But when betrayal enters the picture, it's like a disease." A collective gasp resonated from the crowd. Sympathy, anger, and disbelief swirled among the townsfolk like leaves caught in a whirlwind. Marybeth could see expressions change, emotions flaring from understanding to outrage. Danny and Lizzie stood just off to the side, their faces a mix of worry and pride. "Bridget, you were my friend," Marybeth pressed on, her voice edged with sorrow. "You knew my dreams, my fears. How could you do this to someone you claimed to care for? All for what? Power? Control? Money?" Bridget's eyes glistened as Marybeth continued to lay bare her heart, exposing the hurt that had been festered. But as the moment stretched, Marybeth noticed something shift within Bridget. The walls around her friend seemed to crumble, vulnerability seeping through the cracks. I was afraid," Bridget finally declared, her voice breaking as she tried to meet Marybeth's gaze. "I watched you take the risk, to have faith, and I felt small. I didn't believe I could ever measure up." A wave of silence washed over the room again. Marybeth's anger ebbed for a moment, replaced by a rush of empathy. Wasn't he that part of the problem? Fear had driven them apart. What if instead of competing, we worked together? Marybeth suggested, tentatively. The words felt foreign yet liberating. Finally, the crowd reacted. Faces shifted, whispers mutating from distrust to contemplation. Sensing this change, Marybeth felt a glimmer of hope intertwine with her trepidation. Could they find a way back? As eyes moved between Marybeth and Bridget, the future of Maple Grove hung delicately in the balance. Bridges were broken, but perhaps they could be rebuilt. Moments stretched into eternity, hearts opened, and fists began to unclench. But just then, an unexpected voice cut through the air, drawing all attention as Danny stepped forward. "Mom, what about the court date? What if they want to let us keep the farm?" The moment of truth arrived, and Marybeth's pulse quickened again. Would she have the strength to maneuver not only her friend's betrayal, but the larger stakes waiting around the corner? Now, they faced a monumental challenge, and her heart spiraled between fear and hope. Could she rally not only her own spirit, but the town's as well? The Harvest Festival was around the corner, and time was running out. What would happen if she showed the town that together, they were stronger than any betrayal? Marybeth's throat felt tight as she looked at Danny's worried expression. The court date was looming, and she could feel the weight of the world resting on her shoulders. The idea of losing the farm, the very place that held her family's dreams, sent shivers down her spine. She had always believed that with hard work and dedication, they could overcome anything. But now doubt crept in, whispering that perhaps it was all slipping away. "Mom," Danny pressed, his voice steady yet anxious. "What are we going to do?" Marybeth took a deep breath, steadying herself. She searched the gathered faces, hoping to find allies among them, people who had known her struggle, her sacrifices. These were the neighbors she had once shared laughter and stories with. Could they rally together in this moment of need? Together, she repeated softly, allowing the word to resonate. "We need to be together. All of us." Bridget shifted nervously, her earlier defiance replaced by a deep-rooted shame. "I can help, Marybeth. I'll convince the others to support you. They need to see the truth." The murmurs of the crowd grew again, wavering between skepticism and hope. Could those whispers turn into action? Marybeth's heart pounded as she considered the possibility of a fragile thread of unity woven amidst the chaos. If we all stand as one, she said, infusing her voice with conviction, maybe we can show them that Maple Grove cannot be divided. We can face this together. Faces began to nod, a ripple of agreement sweeping through the room like a warm breeze. It felt as if the fog of fear was finally lifting, revealing a path forward. I also want to help, Lizzie piped up, stepping closer to her mother, her small frame suddenly filled with fierce determination. We can organize a community meeting, gather support, and make sure everyone knows what's really happening. We want to let them take our home. The energy in the hall sparked. Marybeth could almost see it, energy transforming into action. Perhaps they were closer than they thought to reclaiming what was theirs. She locked eyes with Bridget, a silent understanding passing between them, one of shared pain, but also the chance for redemption. Let us meet at the community center tomorrow, Marybeth suggested, her voice gaining strength. We'll work on a plan and have everyone ready to lend their voices when the day comes. As the crowd began to disperse, Marybeth felt a flicker of hope ignite inside her. The road ahead would not be easy, but for the first time in a long time, it seemed possible. She could see a future where Maple Grove thrived, not just as a land but as a tight-knit community rising from betrayal towards healing. Yet, a part of her couldn't help but wonder if they could overcome the obstacles ahead. Could the trust once broken truly be mended? What unforeseen challenges might rise from the shadows? That night, as she lay in bed, Marybeth stared at the ceiling, fear taunting her from the corners of her mind. The court might not just be about the farm, it was a trial of their spirits, their unity. Could she summon the courage to embrace the truth, lead her community, and forge a stronger bond under the weight of betrayal? The Harvest Festival was not just a celebration, it was the battleground where they would stake their claim and shape their future. And, just like that, in the quiet of her room, a single thought flickered to life. What if the very betrayal that threatened to tear them apart became the catalyst for their strongest bonds yet? Marybeth woke up to the sound of birds chirping outside her window, a reminder that nature continued its routine, even as her world felt like it was unraveling. Sitting up, she watched the sunlight spill across the floor, illuminating the path that led to the kitchen. She took a moment to steady herself, a frail but growing courage bubbling within her. Today would be pivotal. Danny, she called out, pulling on her boots. It's time to rise and shine. Her son appeared in the hallway, hair tousled and eyes still heavy with sleep. What is the plan today, Mom? Are we still going to the center? Absolutely, she replied, a hint of a smile breaking through her worries. Today we gather support. We need every voice we can find. They had decided to meet at the community center early to prepare for the influx of neighbors. Marybeth felt nervous anticipation twist in her stomach as she loaded up the car with signs, flyers, and refreshments. She could taste the air of collective hope like the freshness of rain just before a storm, invigorating yet overwhelming. As they arrived at the center, the large, rustic building loomed before them. Memories flooded back of bake sales and holiday gatherings. This place was the heart of Maple Grove, and today it was going to beat louder than ever. Danny jumped out and headed toward the entrance, enthusiasm turning nervousness into action. Marybeth steadied herself, taking a deep breath before following him inside. The room began to fill with familiar faces, drawn together by the pull of unity. Marybeth recognized her friends, the milkman, the schoolteacher, and even old Mr. Jenkins, all arriving to rally for a cause that was about more than just land. It was about belonging, identity, and the shared stories that had crisscrossed through generations. Thank you all for coming, Marybeth began, her voice trembling at first. We are facing a fight that could change our lives, and we need to stand as one. We can't let Maple Grove slip through our fingers. Cheers erupted, filling the air with energy. Lizzie handed out homemade cookies, each one a sweet reminder of the community bond that existed. Let us get together, share our stories, she said brightly. When we come together, we have strength. Our voices matter. A round of applause echoed through the room, a tangible thing that pushed the doubt aside. People began sharing their plans for supporting Marybeth, ideas spinning out like threads, weaving a tapestry of action. But amidst the excitement, Marybeth felt her heart sink when she saw Bridget slip into the back of the room, quietly standing by herself. The moments they had shared earlier felt fragile in the face of the storm approaching. Everything depended on trust that felt so very cracked. Later, as the meeting wrapped up, Marybeth found Bridget standing alone. She approached slowly, the weight of unspoken words heavy between them. "Bridget, I'm glad you came," Marybeth said softly. Bridget looked away, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I don't know if I can fix what I've broken, Marybeth. Maybe it's not about fixing everything. Maybe it's about starting again, together." Bridget met her gaze. A flicker of understanding shone through the shadows of misunderstanding. "You really believe that?" "It has to be true," Marybeth replied, a hint of fierceness rising in her chest. "If we want to fight for Maple Grove, we need to trust each other. It starts with us." Just as the light of reconciliation seemed to break through the lingering tension, a loud crash echoed from outside, snapping their conversation. Marybeth rushed to the door, heart pounding. What now? Was this another blow to their resolve? Standing on the steps with arms crossed was a man she recognized, flanked by a few others. The town's most vocal opposition, ready to put an end to their plans. "Looks like you've gathered quite the crowd, Marybeth. But this isn't over. Not by a long shot." The air snapped taut with tension. Marybeth felt the collective breath of the community hold, a fragile line drawn between hope and fear. Could they withstand this new confrontation together? Or would it unravel everything they had fought to build? Marybeth stood frozen for a moment, her heart racing as the group outside shifted uneasily. The words of the man on the steps hung in the air like a dark cloud, overshadowing the bright spirits that had filled the community center only moments before. She could sense Danny's anxious presence behind her, sensing the immediate threat. "Who do you think you are?" she called out, her voice quaking but firm, refusing to let fear swallow her. The man smirked, a smug arrogance that made her stomach churn. "Name Eric. Just someone who cares about Maple Grove, like you. But unlike you, I see the bigger picture. You're causing a lot of trouble." "Trouble?" Marybeth replied, incredulity rising in her chest. "I'm fighting for home. Our community." Lizzie stepped forward, unmistakable determination on her face. "You don't understand what we're trying to preserve, do you? This isn't just land, it's our lives." Eric let out a mocking chuckle. "You think a few posters and cookies will save you? Change the way people feel about that property? You don't know the real game here." Marybeth could feel the confidence in the room waver. Whispers of confusion began to ripple as eyes darted between her and the adversaries. She had to act, to reclaim the narrative before it spiraled into darkness. "Everyone!" she shouted, lifting her chin. "This is exactly what we're up against. They want to divide us, but look at everyone here. Look at what we're fighting for." Slowly, heads began to nod in agreement, voices murmured support. Bridget, who had been lingering at the edge, stepped forward too. "Eric, you don't know us. You don't know the family values, the memories that tie us to this place. You think of this as just land to profit from, but to us, it's everything." There was a spark of unity in the room, the energy shifting back toward hope. Marybeth felt that familiar warmth in her chest, a reminder of their history together, their children playing, the laughter echoing during summer nights. "Exactly," Marybeth affirmed. "We will protect what is ours. Together, we're unstoppable." Just then, Eric's expression soured. "This isn't over," he said, a threat lacing his tone. "We'll be back, and I'll make sure all of you understand the reality." As he turned to leave, Marybeth's heart raced with dread mingled with the high of fighting back. But it was a way-up call, a glimpse of the harsh reality poised against them. Once the door swung shut behind him, the room burst alive with voices, fueled by urgency and determination. "Did you all see that?" he asked, terrified. Jess shouted, her passion infectious. "We can't back down. We need to show them how strong our voices really are," Lizzie added, her eyes bright with resolve. "Organize protests, something bigger," Danny suggested, watching his mother with admiration. Marybeth took a deep breath, feeling the tide of possibility swell. Perhaps this fight was more than just saving their homes. It was about reinvigorating their spirit, about standing tall for each other in the storm. As they formed teams and brainstormed plans, Marybeth caught Bridget's eye. There was power in that flickering gaze, a promise of collaboration over conflict. The scars of their rift still felt fresh, yet the need for unity surged forward, bolstered by the enemy they faced. Just as ideas flowed and hope reigned, a cold shiver danced across her spine. The weight of uncertainty settled back in. They would need more than courage to face whatever lay ahead. They would need a strategy, a well-thought-out action plan to confront the bigger forces at play. Marybeth's heart raced as she turned to her support group. We need to dig deeper. It's time we uncover what they're really hiding. They underestimate our spirit. But what if we use that against them? The air crackled with anticipation. What were they really up against, and how much were they prepared to sacrifice to protect their beloved Maple Grove? She glanced at Dani. Determination surging within her today marked the beginning of a real battle. But as the laughter faded and the gravity of the task set in, she couldn't shake the feeling that the real fight had yet to begin. Marybeth glanced around at the faces lighting up with ideas, a fire igniting beneath their shared cause. But that shiver still lingered in her bones, the heavy weight of potential defeat looming ahead. They were fueled by hope, yet her mind buzzed with questions. What was Eric really capable of? What secret plans were in motion behind those confident, mocking eyes? Okay, team, she said, trying to elevate the energy in the room. Let us get organized. We need to spread the word about what's happening here. We can start by going door to door, talking with the community. The more voices we gather, the harder it will be to ignore us. Dani stood closer, brimming with excitement. I can set up a social media page to share our message. We'll reach folks outside of Maple Grove too. It's a great way to drum up support. Good thinking, Dani. Marybeth patted his shoulder, feeling a swell of pride. This wasn't just her fight, it was theirs, a collective struggle. She looked back at Lizzie and Bridget, who nodded in agreement, their eyes sparkling with newfound determination. As they split into teams, laughter and chatter filled the room. It felt like the strong pulse of a community ready to fight back. Yet, just as Marybeth thought they were on the right path, a jarring thought struck her. What if Eric wasn't just a thief of their land, but also a thief of their spirit? That fear simmered beneath her determination as she headed outside with Dani. They paused on the steps, taking in the quiet neighborhood. The sun dipped low, casting a warm glow over Maple Grove, a vivid reminder of everything they stood to lose. Do you think we're really ready for this? Dani asked, his voice barely above a whisper. What if we can't win? Listen, Marybeth said, kneeling beside him so their eyes met. Winning isn't just about the land, or even the money. It's about fighting for what we believe in, and for everyone who called this community home. We can't let fear stop us. We have to keep fighting no matter how hard it gets. Dani's expression softened as he nodded, though the uncertainty still lingered in his eyes. Marybeth squeezed his shoulder, reminded that he was bravely standing with her in a fight bigger than themselves. That evening, as they walked back into the buzzing community center, Marybeth felt the energizing rush of momentum build around them. They were hashing out plans, dividing responsibilities, and fueling excitement. Yet, amid the noise, a familiar voice cut through, causing everyone to hush. Isn't it precious? Eric's mocking voice echoed in the doorway, a chilling reminder they weren't alone in this fight. Look at you all, gathering for a cause that you're ultimately doomed to lose. Marybeth felt her heart clench. How had he found them so soon? Panic rippled through the group, but Marybeth stepped forward, refusing to let Eric's arrival intimidate her. Leave us alone, Eric, she shouted, her voice unwavering. You don't scare us. Unfazed, Eric crossed his arms, surveying the crowd with a predatory grin. Oh, I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to make you face reality. You have no idea what I can do to you, to this town. Each of you could lose everything you hold dear. Tension crackled in the air. Marybeth's pulse quickened, a raw sense of dread spiraling in her stomach. The stakes were rising, and they were becoming painfully aware of what they were up against, but that wasn't all. For Marybeth, That moment ignited something inside her, a flicker of defiance, a recognition that she had the power to turn this narrative around. What is he really capable of? She thought, her heart racing in her chest as she faced Eric. Let us see how far they're willing to go, she murmured to herself, inwardly steeling herself for what lay ahead. There was no way she would let fear define their fate. It was time to face the darkness, to fight back with everything they had. But as she squared her shoulders, ready to rally her friends, another chilling thought crept in. How far would they each go to protect what they loved? And were they all truly ready for the sacrifices that lay ahead? The fight for Maple Grove was only just beginning. Marybeth felt the heat of Eric's gaze like a weight pressing against her chest. His confidence only fueled her resolve. You think you can scare us with your threats? She shouted, feeling her voice steadier than her heart. This community is stronger than you know. The murmurs of her friends began to rise, a chorus of defiance building behind her. Lizzie stepped beside Marybeth, her chin tilted up defiantly. We've stayed quiet for too long. We know what you're after, Eric, and we won't let you take it. Eric's smirk faltered for a brief moment, replaced by an icy glare. And how exactly do you plan to stop me? He challenged, eyes narrowing. Danny, emboldened by Marybeth's and Lizzie's words, threw in, we're going to fight. We'll go door to door. We'll make sure everyone knows what you're up to. Yeah, Bridget added, a spark igniting in her eyes. You're not going to ruin our home, Eric. We're not doing this just for ourselves, but for everyone who loves this place. A rustle of agreement swept through the group like a wave. Each person was stepping up, driven by a fire that Eric clearly underestimated. Good luck with that, Eric said, raising his eyebrows mockingly. But his bravado seemed to jitter as he faced the determined little group. You really think the residents will believe you over someone like me? The upstanding businessman? His voice dripped with sarcasm. Marybeth felt her stomach churn at his dismissive tone. But beneath that discomfort, a flash of clarity emerged. You think they don't know you, Eric? They've seen the way you treat people. They remember when you swooped in to help only to take advantage. We want to just fight. We'll remind them. We're family here. And you're just an outsider looking to take what isn't yours. Eric's cheek twitched at her words. For a moment, an emotion flickered behind his confident facade. Was it fear? Anger? Before he could respond, Marybeth continued, when we tell our stories, when we speak the truth, they have to listen. And we will stand together, even if you try to tear us apart. You think you can take me down, little girl? Eric advanced slowly, and Marybeth felt the adrenaline push her further forward. You have no idea what I'm capable of. Quietness fell upon the room after his words, a tension that felt like static in the air. Marybeth felt her breath quicken. We're not afraid of you, she said, rallying her courage. You might threaten us, but you don't know our strength. We've lived through too much to let you ruin it all now. She felt the pulse of unity among her friends' supportive hands on her back, eyes filled with a shared mission. There was a force building, fueled not just by anger, but by love for their home. With a quick nod, she turned to her community. Let us stand together, fight together, and make our voices louder than his. And before she could take another breath, the crowd erupted into cheers. Marybeth, Danny shouted, his excitement contagious. We need the community's stories, let us collect them, share the truth about Maple Grove, and show Eric what we're really made of. Marybeth nodded. Yes, everyone has a story. If we share our histories, people will see what's at stake. As they began to organize, Marybeth caught Eric's gaze one more time. There was a flicker of a threat in his eyes, but now it was tinged with uncertainty. Enjoy this little moment. It won't last, he warned, spinning on his heel and leaving the community center, his shadow stretching long and dark against the fading light. The cheers and conversations swelled behind her, but Marybeth couldn't shake the unease churning in her stomach. His words rang in her ears. It won't last. Could they really hold on? Would they find the strength to keep fighting? As her heart raced, she turned back to her friends, determined yet frightened for what lay ahead. How far are we willing to go? She wondered, wrapping her arms around herself as doubt crept back in. Would they all stay strong in the face of Eric's looming threat? Then, a new resolve sparked within her. "Together, we're unstoppable," she whispered, as the work began. But as the night deepened, the weight of her own question pulled at her. Was she strong enough to lead them all into the coming storm? The moon hung low over Maple Grove, casting a silver glow on the streets as Marybeth gathered her friends around in a small circle. The community center had emptied, leaving just their voices echoing against the walls. She could still feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins, but beneath it all lay a crumbling doubt that threatened to consume her spirit. "All right, let us brainstorm how to reach everyone," Lizzie proposed, her enthusiasm still intact. "We need to divide the work. We can create pamphlets, organize meetings, maybe even set up a social media page." "Good idea," Danny chimed in, his hands animated as he spoke. "We can have a sign-up sheet for everyone who wants to help." Marybeth admired their energy. It sparked something in her, but she couldn't shake the nagging fear. "But what if Eric tries to stop us?" she asked, her voice softer. "You saw how he reacted. This one be easy. Aren't you tired of being afraid?" Bridget asked, her brows furrowed. "We've let him intimidate us for too long. Think of families that lost their homes because of him. This is about more than just us." Marybeth nodded. It was true. The community had faced challenges before, but this felt different. They weren't just protecting their homes, they were fighting for the heart of what made Maple Grove home. Feeling revitalized, Marybeth took a deep breath. "Okay, let us focus on gathering the stories. We can meet at my house tomorrow to share memories of Maple Grove, the good times, the struggles, everything. We need to show Eric he's wrong about us." As the group chatted excitedly, planning their next steps, Marybeth caught a glimpse outside. Eric's black car was parked at the curb, dark and ominous under the moonlight. A chill slid down her spine. He was looming, a shadow just beyond their safe space. "Guys, I need to make sure everyone's on board," she announced quickly. "Let us split up tonight and talk to at least 3 people each. We need their support. If they see the strength in stories, they'll understand how important it is to stick together." The group nodded, determination sparking in their eyes. Before they started to disperse, Bridget placed her hand on Marybeth's shoulder, a faint smile breaking through her worry. "You've got this, Marybeth. We're behind you. Just remember, you're not alone." Marybeth felt warmth radiate from Bridget's words. "Thank you, all of you. Together, we can do this." The friends shared plans and split up, each stepping out into the cool night. Marybeth watched them go, their figures dissolving into the darkness. But as she turned to head home, a strange sense of urgency gripped her, a desperate need to do something before Eric could strike again. With her heart racing, she pulled out her phone. "I need to document this," she murmured to herself. She snapped a few photos of the empty community center, the faces of friends bubbling with hope in her mind. But one thing nagged at her, the doubt that wouldn't disappear. What if her resolve wasn't enough? What if Eric had a plan? She shook her head, trying to dispel the shadows creeping back in. With a renewed sense of purpose, she hurried home, knowing that each person's story mattered, that together, they could illuminate the darkness Eric tried to impose. As she stepped into her house, the weight of the coming fight crashed on her. She could almost hear the echoes of the struggles and victories that defined Maple Grove. It was a tapestry woven from laughter and tears, from heartbreak and hope. But would it be enough to stand against Eric's looming threat? Would their collective stories weave a strong enough shield? She felt the familiar anxiety grip her heart once more. What would happen when they drew the first lines of resistance? The road ahead was uncertain, and it lay heavy on her mind. As Marybeth settled in, she couldn't shake a foreboding thought. In this battle for Maple Grove, revealing their scars could either be their salvation or their undoing. Doubt twisted within her. Would she find the vulnerability to lead the charge in the face of Eric's impending wrath? Marybeth paced in her living room, the shadows flickering from the candle she had lit to ward off the night's chill. Each footfall echoed a rhythm of uncertainty, punctuating her thoughts with questions that pressed heavy against her heart. She had gathered her friends for a noble cause, Yet now doubt clouded her resolve. Could they really stand up to Eric? The wind howled outside, rattling the windows. It felt as though nature itself was warning her. She glanced around her cozy home, the walls adorned with photos that told the story of Maple Grove, a neighborhood alive with laughter, potlucks, and block parties. But would those memories hold enough power to fight off the darkness looming on the horizon? Taking a deep breath, she pulled out her phone again, scrolling through the photos from the community center. Laughter danced in the snapshots, faces filled with enthusiasm, memories wrapped up in each click. She saved a few to share later, but if those smiles could speak, would they be pleading for action or whispering for retreat? Enough, she muttered, forcing herself to focus. She needed a plan, a way to muster both courage and community. Suddenly, her phone buzzed, jolting her from her thoughts. It was a text from Lizzie. "Hey, just spoke with Mrs. Thompson. She said she'd help spread the word among the older folks. They have stories, too." Marybeth's heart lifted a little. That was it. They needed the stories of everyone, every generation that had called Maple Grove home. Those tales would be a testament to the spirit of the community. She quickly replied, "That's great. Can we meet tomorrow afternoon?" Lizzie responded almost immediately. "Yes, I know a few more who might join us. Let us do this." For the first time that evening, a spark of hope ignited in Marybeth's chest. If they could show the breadth of their history, the intertwined lives of neighbors and friends, Eric would be unable to dismantle that unity with threats alone. She pictured Mrs. Thompson's warm smile, her tales of raising kids in the Grove, and knew how powerful those stories could be, yet still, a gnawing doubt lingered. What if Eric found out about their plans? What if he retaliated before they could even gather their stories? There were too many unknowns. The adrenaline that had filled her minutes earlier began to feel like an icy grip around her throat. Marybeth shook off the uncertainty like a fragile cloak. She reminded herself of Bridget's words. "Aren't you tired of being afraid?" Yes, she was. She rolled up her sleeves, a determined look filling her eyes. She would go out tomorrow and gather every story she could, the old ones, the new ones, the forgotten ones. They might be fragile, but each story had the potential to become a rallying cry. As she prepared for bed, a final thought lingered in her mind. Would her gathering of stories really be enough to embolden the community? Would the tales of Maple Grove's history shield them against Eric's threat? When she finally lay her head on the pillow, the answers danced just out of reach like fireflies in the dark. As sleep tugged at her, she resolved that tomorrow would be a day of courage. She had to believe that those stories could spark something bigger. Voices united. The heartbeat of a community ready to fight back. But just as she began to drift into dreams, a faint sound pulled her back, a knock at the front door. A chill ran down her spine as she realized it was late. Who could it be? Heart racing, Marybeth sat upright. "Who is there?" Silence met her questions. A sense of dread wrapped around her, leaving her breathless. What if it was only the night? Or what if it was Eric? Marybeth stood up, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. She hesitated, caught between fear and curiosity. "Is someone there?" she shouted, voice trembling. Suddenly, she heard a soft voice call back, barely above a whisper. "It's me, it's Bridget." Relieved yet cautious, Marybeth opened the door a crack. Bridget stood there, her face illuminated by the moonlight, an urgency in her eyes. "I couldn't wait until morning. I wanted to talk about our plan," she said, stepping inside as Marybeth opened the door wider, inviting her into the warmth of home. "What is going on?" Marybeth prompted, sensing the tension that drew Bridget closer. "I heard something." "I don't think we have time to waste," Bridget said, glancing toward the windows as if expecting shadows to step out of the dark. "Eric's been rallying support against us. I think he's reaching out to people, twisting the truth to suit his needs. We need to have our stories ready faster than he can strike." Marybeth felt a moment of fear grip her again, but it quickly morphed into determination. "Right. We need to gather them, share them, keep Eric from swaying the community. Let us get to work." As they huddled together, forming a plan under the soft light of the kitchen, A brave fire sparked in both of them. Together they would take back control, stitch together the narrative that Eric sought to unravel. They started calling neighbors right then and there, sharing their concerns and inviting everyone over the next day to recount their memories and contributions to Maple Grove. The following day would be monumental. They would open their hearts and their homes, weaving a tapestry of rich history that would rally the community against any threat. With each phone call, they felt the sense of unity building, a transformation rippling through the town. The night felt like a turning point, as both Marybeth and Bridget realized they were no longer just fighting for the farm, they were fighting for each other, for everyone who loved Maple Grove. They felt their bonds tightening that night, stitching together a friendship once frayed by betrayal, now strong and resolute. The next morning dawned clear and cool. Marybeth woke to eager chatter as neighbors flooded her home, each carrying their story like a gift. The warmth of their connection filled her heart. From old Mrs. Thompson's tales of youth to Danny and Lizzie sharing their dreams for the future, each voice echoed the spirit of Maple Grove. The power of community vibrated in the air. They honed in on a singular truth: they were stronger together. As the sun climbed higher, Marybeth took a deep breath and stood up, heart full with conviction. "Thank you all for coming," she began. "This isn't just about fighting against Eric. It's about celebrating who we are, what we've built together. We are a family." Cheers erupted around her, reminders of laughter and shared meals swirled in the air. Just then, there was a signal of unease. Someone had spotted Eric eyeing the gathering from a distance. Marybeth's heart quickened. She knew that he wouldn't go down without a fight. But she also felt the energy of everyone around her. There was a fierce determination in the faces before her. She took a moment, centering herself, a surge of courage inflating her spirit like a buoy rising against the tide. "Let him come," she said, raising her chin, confidence filling her tone. "He doesn't understand the heart of our community. He thinks he can tear us apart, but he's forgotten that we're rooted deep. Together, we'll show him the power of our stories." With that, the room erupted into applause, their voices swelling with resolution. Each life shared was another thread woven into a security blanket of strength that could withstand any storm. Days turned into weeks as they gathered stories, and word spread across Maple Grove like wildfire. Flyers whipped through the wind, social media lit up, and soon, every neighbor joined arms. Trust formed a shield around them, a protective layer against Eric's threats. Marybeth felt lighter, the burden of fear replaced by unity. As the harvest festival approached, the town came together to plan not just a celebration, but a rally for Maple Grove, one that displayed their commitment, resilience, and love for the land they called home. Finally, the day arrived. The sun stretched wide across the clear sky. Families around her were busy setting up booths, decorated with their shared stories. Laughter and joy circulated in the air. It felt like a warm embrace, enveloping them all. Marybeth stepped onto the stage, hearts beating as one under the gentle rustle of leaves. She looked out at the sea of faces that reflected back the same hopes and dreams she held deep within her. "Today, we stand together. Today, we celebrate each other. Today, we take a stand against anyone who underestimates the power of our unity," she declared, her voice ringing with solemnity and joy as they cheered her on. And then she saw Eric, lurking at the edges, trying to undermine it all. The sight no longer frightened her. Instead, she felt invigorated, determined that he wouldn't shatter what they had built together. As the cheers transformed into a heartbeat of unity, she knew they would not be silenced. "Together, we are stronger than any betrayal," she declared. As the crowd roared, Marybeth understood that homes aren't just made of bricks and land. They are built from trust, love, and the shared stories of everyone who calls it their own. They were rewriting their future, strong and steadfast, and in that moment, encapsulated in the essence of community, Marybeth felt the weight of betrayal lift entirely, no longer a burden, but a thread in a beautiful tapestry of resilience and hope. Make sure you understand the journey the Maple Grove community undertook this transformation. the strength found in unity, and the courage to fight back. Now, if you felt that spark of hope, if you witnessed the resilience, you need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and to show that this journey touched your heart, and comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share the love that binds us all together. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. We are a family, and true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.